Should you be focusing on goals or habits this year? Okay, sorry, that was a trick question. You need both. By the end of this video, you'll know the essential habits that you need to smash your goals once and for all, not this year, but once and for all, no matter how hectic life gets. Let's set the foundation here. Let's understand the difference between goals and habits and how these two things come together. So I think we can all agree a goal is a desired outcome. So when we're looking at the big picture, this big desired outcome goal, that is a starting point. This is not a place where you launch from. This is a starting point. And it is not the place to focus on as we move forward. Keeping it in our sights, yes, absolutely. But why do I say it's not the place to focus? So when we decide that this is the goal that we want to achieve, the big desired outcome, and this is where we set our sights, this is where we focus our energy, what happens if we don't achieve it? Do we view it as a failure? And the answer to that is personal for each one of us. However, more often than not, I would say that it is viewed as a failure when a big outcome has not been achieved. Now, alternatively, when we break that big outcome into smaller steps and we focus on the path or the journey, or as I will identify throughout this time together, is habits. So when those are the things that we focus on, those smaller pieces, and we see that we are achieving those things, we cannot deny that that is success. We have achieved success in moving forward, or forward momentum, as I like to call it. Just to give you a general idea, when I talk about goals, it's this big picture thing and it's exciting to strive for, but where we put our focus is on these steps that we look at each and every day that we're achieving, that we're attending to, so that as we do accomplish them, that we can see the progress that has been made. Now, before we cover habits and goals more deeply, I wanted to paint a little picture for you, or analogy, if you will. So if we look at goals like our destination, habits are our vehicle to get there. And so habits are those things that we do on repeat, daily, weekly. These are the things that build consistency and momentum over time, particularly when those things that we're aspiring to become habits actually do become the thing that we automatically go to. Because essentially a habit is a thing that's just going to automatically be a part of our way that we enter into a day. So that is what we're striving for. Before we can talk about that, there's something that we need to get very, very clear on. This is not the most exciting part of the process, but I promise you, doing the work up front is the best gift that you're going to be able to give yourself right now. So before we can implement habits, we need to look at what is the time frame, what time do we have available to be putting this into? Where in the day can I insert these things? Drop the words time tracker in the comments and I will make sure to get a time tracker to you, or to explain how you can set one up for yourself so that you know what it looks like and how to do it. But essentially what you're doing is you're literally tracking your time. I'm talking about all the way down to like even 30-minute increments all throughout your day. What time you wake up, what are you doing as soon as you wake up, and progressively by perhaps half an hour increments all throughout the day until you lay your head on that pillow at night. Why are we spending the time doing this tedious task? Because our brain holds so much. And so often we are not aware of the pockets of time we have available, or sometimes we're a little bit blind to where we're spending time because it's just become part of our norm, or gosh, let's not even talk about how we can get lost in social media and lose 2 hours when we think it's been like 10 minutes. So we're doing these time trackers to get an actual real life picture of what does my day look like. You may need to do this for a week. It just depends on how different your day-to-day life is, but take the time to do it. Commit to yourself that you're going to take the time to do it. And what you're going to do with that is this is where you're going to be able to take these habits that we're going to talk about today and implement them in the space, or either make the space for them if it's not evident where the space is already. So with that said, let's get back to talking about these habits that I keep mentioning. So what are the habits that you're going to implement each and every day or week to make sure that you are successful towards your goals? So the very first thing I'm going to start with is starting your day on the right foot. It is incredibly important to make sure that when you get out of bed in the morning, that you are starting off on the right energy or on the right foot. So if you start off, for example, dragging, not having clear direction, not properly caring for your body, that is setting the foundation for your day. So we set that foundation, We want to go into the day hydrated, perhaps well-nourished, maybe even having moved your body through some form of exercise, definitely getting your mindset right through something like journaling or meditation, or just maybe some quiet time in nature, prayer, if that's your thing, whatever it is. So getting your body and your mind right and ready to dive into your day so that you have already given yourself that energy boost that you're going to need to attend to a very busy day. So let's be honest, whose day isn't busy these days, right? So the next thing is we're going to attend to these small steps, these habits, these action steps for that big goal. And so if you don't already have your goals broken down into small actionable steps, and I'm talking about so small that you know these are the things you're doing every single day and every week, I want you to go back to an episode that I posted 2 weeks ago, and it was on re-engaging your goals after the new year. So I did a couple of New Year's achievement goal type things in January, but 2 weeks ago, I posted a video on re-engaging your goals if you've fallen off of those resolutions or goals. And so go back to that video because that's where I really dive into how you do break down those big goals into the smaller steps if you've not already done that, right? So if you've already done that, let's move forward. Now you're looking at that time tracker that you created, and you're looking at where you're going to insert these steps that need to be achieved every single day and those things that need to be done each week. Now, this is and I'm kind of glossing over it because I'm assuming or directing, encouraging that you've already broken those steps down. So actually just inserting them into your day should be a smaller bit here. That said, take the time that it takes to see where these things fit into your schedule and make sure that these things fit into your schedule. So if you need to move things around, you see where you can visually see where you need to move these things around. So starting your day on the right foot, action steps. That's the first two things. So the third thing, the habit that you are going to implement on a regular basis is going to be your accountability check-ins. So whether that's going to be daily or weekly is between you and your accountability partner. So now when I say accountability partner, I'm also meaning if you chose to work with a coach for accountability. So that is, you're going to make sure that your schedule has a space in it that says accountability check-in, and for whatever duration you and your coach or partner have prescribed. So if it's 30 minutes every single Thursday at 3 p.m., or perhaps it's after the end of each workday for 15 minutes, you're simply going to say something like, I've accomplished everything I set out to accomplish. Also having it worked in where you're going to have your longer meetings where you tell each other what you're going to accomplish. So your accountability check-ins are in your time tracker. So they're a habit that gets attended to on the regular basis that they need to be attended to. The next thing is going to be progress tracking. So it's very important that you are looking at the progress that you are making for so many reasons. I talked about this in the last video, but you've got to be looking at the progress to continue that forward momentum and to continue building the motivation it's going to take to achieve the big goal. And so one of those things you do is you look at the progress. So this is a thing that, again, you can do daily and weekly. So have you accomplished all of the things that you were going to accomplish that day? It's also an opportunity to see if things need to be adjusted in your schedule. If you're just starting out and you thought that you would get a certain number of things accomplished that day and you didn't manage, you were efficient with your time, you used your time blocking or Pomodoro or something to keep you on track, and you know that you were efficient with your time, yet you still didn't finish everything that needed to be finished, you didn't fail. This is an opportunity to adjust and make those shifts that you need to make. Alternatively, perhaps you thought it was going to take longer than it took you to do those things. So this is an opportunity to perhaps put a little bit more into your day, and perhaps that means you're going to achieve the goal a little sooner. Either way, progress tracking serves the purpose to make sure that you know where you're at and what shifts need to be made. So doing this at the end of each day, especially at the beginning when you're starting this, and then certainly at the end of your work week, whatever day that might be already. And I did identify, but I just want to revisit making sure that progress tracking is in your time tracker so that you know this is when it's going to happen, so it doesn't get overlooked. So after you've done your time tracker, you can list those things out either in your journal or if you have a digital kind of scheduler that keeps you moving forward, that keeps you in line. You can use those things, take them from your time tracker and move them over. All right, and then the next thing is going to be celebrating small wins. So I talk about this all of the time. This isn't new, and there's not going to be a ton of new stuff for me to talk about here, but I am going to mention it in case this is your first time with me. So when I talk about celebrating small wins, and the reason I'm mentioning it here in this format is because for some people, this is not a normal thing to do. And that's okay. There's no shame there, but it is important that we do it. So the reason that we celebrate small wins is because we do want to acknowledge that we have made that progress, so that if we are looking at only the big picture and we're not reaching it because those things take time and we're becoming overwhelmed and burned out, we just don't want to do it anymore. Or rather, I should say that so we don't get to that point, right? So when we celebrate the small wins, we acknowledge that we have made the progress and we give ourselves a little boost, and it builds on that momentum and it keeps the momentum going. So how do we make sure that this happens? Particularly if it's not a thing that you're used to offering yourself, those moments of celebration. And when I say celebration, I just mean acknowledgement. You can cheer for yourself. You can do a happy dance. You can just say something kind to yourself in your head. You can reach out to your accountability partner or coach and say, I rocked my day. Anything that just acknowledges that you did that thing and gives you a moment to kind of revel in that. Now we put it into our calendars to make sure that it happens. So it could be something as simple as at the end of the day, it might be the last thing you do, and you say, acknowledge your progress, is just kind of a reminder to do that celebration. Just set that up on your phone. You can set a reminder on your phone. So whatever it looks like to you that trigger is going to happen for you to remind you to do that, make sure that that is inserted into your scheduler in some way. So those are some of the essential things that you're going to have into your daily and weekly habits. Everybody's is going to look different. So yours is definitely going to look different than mine. And so there's a big kind of gap here where you're going to fill in the things that are very specific and important to you. Some of those things might be more of the self-care and mindset work. So it is important to make sure that they have a place, not just that you hope that you'll find that space for them during the day, or if they happen, they happen, but you're intentional about making sure that they have a space in your calendar. So you actually write that in to your calendar so something else doesn't fall into that time and the important thing gets negated or overlooked. So perhaps you're doing something like inserting more affirmations or spending more time reading. Making sure that all of these things make it into your scheduler is how you're going to build these habits. Now, I said that I would share a really easy way with you in order to be able to start new habits. So starting new habits is fun and exciting, and it sounds simple. The thing is, it's not necessary. It is simple, but it's not necessarily easy. So there's a bit of a distinction there. So one really, really simple way to make sure that when you want to start a new habit that it does get implemented is by something called habit stacking. So habit stacking is simply taking a thing that you are already doing on a regular basis and putting the new thing that you want to be doing on top of that. So attaching it. So for example, if I am going to insert a new self-care habit, when I'm brushing my teeth every morning, that is an opportunity to attach the affirmations that I want to start doing with myself. If I want to start journaling every morning, what am I doing every single morning that I can attach that to? For me personally, while I'm waiting for my daughter to be ready for me to do her hair in the morning, I do my journaling. So what is it for you? What does that look like for you? And this is where you go back to your tracker and you can see, oh, this is a thing I do every single day. Some smaller things to consider that might not have made it into your tracker because they don't take 15 or 30 minutes is something like hand washing, making your coffee or tea or pouring your water, whatever that is. If these are things that you do every single day, these are an opportunity to attach some form of a habit to it. So just recognizing, is this a quick habit? Or is it something that needs a little bit more time? So you analyze. And if you need help analyzing this stuff and making it all come together, you know that you can always reach out to me or drop a comment and I can answer any questions that you have in the comments. By all means, don't get overwhelmed. Don't sit in the not knowing and just let it slide into the background. If this is something that you have committed to, ask the questions. And I am always happy to help you work through those things so that your goal setting becomes goal achievement each and every time. All right. So aside for that, there's one last thing that I wanted to mention to you all today, and that's that every single month I do a goal setting and achievement workshop. And so I do these a little bit different than what you've probably typically experienced if you have attended one before. So in the goal setting workshops that I host every single month, and they are 3 hours over a 1-day period. So just for 3 hours, it's kind of like an intensive. We get together and virtually, and we daydream about the goals that you want to be achieving. So we remove the limits so that some of those goals that you do want to don't get squished by, the logic and all of the things that adults do to convince ourselves that that's not going to be our reality. We can't really do that, right? So we kind of dive into the daydreaming. We actually do what I call mini virtual vision boards. So it's not about making them pretty, it's about getting clarity and what you want to do to move forward. And then we actually implement, like we did, like I talked about today and a couple of weeks ago. You have the steps worked out by the time you leave that workshop of what you need to do to move forward. You also understand and have accountability in place. And then, of course, we have worked on the mindset to keep you moving forward so you don't get stuck behind the mindset resistance that comes up. So if you want to check out one of these workshops that I've got coming up, I'm going to go ahead and drop that link in the comments and go ahead and see where that fits into your schedule. Not if it fits in, but where it fits in. And hopefully I'll see you in one of those.